Today we're going to be putting a starter in this 2017 Nissan Titan, my truck. We know it's a starter because once in a while, and it's starting to happen more often when we hit the button to start the truck, you can hear it bang, smack, whatever the solenoid's doing in there. You can hear that the starter's getting power, but it's not starting the truck. We're changing the intake manifold gaskets along with the starter because if you didn't already know, the starter is underneath the intake manifold, which makes this job a little bit of a pain, but we're going to do it. I got the starter and all the parts from Rock Auto. Well, starter and the manifold gaskets, they're individual manifold gaskets. You'll need 8 of them on the 5.6 engine, and the reason for that is it was really the only place I could find them, and it was the best price. So let's get the camera set up and we'll get started. First thing we're going to do is remove the battery, since we are disconnecting an electrical component on the truck, along with many others like sensors on the intake manifold and such. This reduces the risk, in fact almost any risk of all, of shorting something out. We don't want to cause any more repairs along the way. It's just 2 10mm clamps. Always start with the negative. That way if you touch your wrench to something and you ground it out, you're not going to arc it. And then by the time you get your negative off, doesn't matter if you touch the positive to ground, because there's no negative connected. Alright. I don't have my battery clamp. Wasn't in the truck when I got it. We'll readjust over to the manifold and really get started. Also, I don't know exactly what tools I need yet. I know most of it's 10mm, but there will be a tool list in the description at the bottom of this video. So next, I don't think we have to remove the air filter box, but we do have to disconnect the air filter box from the manifold, which I'm just going to take this little section, this bellow between the airbox and throttle body out. You can do that, most of it with 5/16 nut driver. So now we're going to start taking stuff off of the intake manifold. It looks like all of this is just 10mm bolts, which is what I have out currently. An extension might help you. This is all connected to the manifold. It's all what I have to come off. In fact, let's take that off too. I think it's going to make our lives a little easier. Now remember where all this stuff goes. I got the video. I guess you're going to have it too. Disconnect this from here. We have a lot of little bolts from this job. It's not a bad idea to get yourself a magnetic dish. Push that off to the side. didn't have coolant running through that, I would probably just disconnect the hoses, but I don't feel like draining coolant everywhere. Clip that off of here, that out of the way, whatever that's for. Just want to go ahead and, you know, make sure nothing's in the way, like this little clip right here. We got two lines down here underneath the throttle body. You know, I think it might just be easier to remove the throttle body out of there. That's what we want to do, I think. It seems that our 5/16 nut driver will allow us to take the throttle body off. We want 4 bolts there. There we go. Oh shit. Cool. Well, the little lines at the bottom of your throttle body actually have coolant in them. I don't feel like draining it everywhere, so I'm not going to take them off. I'm going to try to do it with it. It's not really in my way. So that's up to you whether you want to take them off or not. Well, we'll probably clean that up though before we put it all back together. Well, it looks like, other than this last hose over here, we can start getting down to the main part of it. Looks like there's 10 bolts, 5 on each side of the manifold that you gotta take off to get it out. So we'll start with this side. They're all 10mm bolts. An extension you're definitely going to need for some of them. We'll set the camera up on the other side so you can see a little better. That should be the last one. There we go. Try to get a better angle. Nice and gently. There we go. I just dropped the bolt, but there we go. Okay, so before we really do anything else, which, by the way, just so you know, there's the starter right there, back of the engine. But as you can see all of our intake ports there, just so we don't have the risk of dropping any, you know, dirt, metal, bolts, whatever the case may be, down into those, you know, and then completely destroy our whole engine when we start it up. We're going to get some tape. We're going to wipe off the lips of them, and we're going to tape them off just so we can have some peace of mind. And then we're going to remove the starter. Alright, well I guess we figure out what sizes we need for the starter, and we start removing the starter. So the first thing you're going to want to do is remove the big wire under the rubber boot on the starter. Right. Oh, you can see it. It's a 12mm bolt. We're going to get that off first. Nut, I guess I should say, not bolt. A little bit of a tight squeeze, but it's not impossible. The new starter didn't come with a new nut, so we gotta make sure we don't lose this one and we save it. There we go. Put it on our magnetic tray. We'll disconnect it there. And the starter itself is in there with two 14mm bolts. It's kind of a tight squeeze back there, but again, not impossible, and we gotta do it anyway. So let's get it done. Well, the ratchet wasn't doing it, so let's try combination wrench and hammer. A lot better. And after that, it's just finger loose. You don't get in, I don't think the new starter came with new bolts to install it either, so make sure you don't lose these and you save them. It looks like we're going to have an easier time if we remove that black bar right there to use the transfer power from the solenoid to the starter. It's kind of in the way of us removing that second bolt. It comes out with, it looks like one 12mm bolt and one 12mm nut. So we're going to try to take that off, see if it makes anything easier. The nut we were able to get off was the socket. I'm going to just try this pair of channel locks here for the bolt because I'm lazy to go get a wrench, and it's the old part, we're not going to be reusing it. If it was a new part, well, I'd be worried about ruining it. We're gonna go get a wrench. There we go. And I'm sorry, this is actually the metal bar that the main wire hooks to put power into the solenoid, not the starter. Got it. We ain't gotta save this stuff. This is all just things off the old starter. Now we should be able to go ahead and remove the starter. Well, remove the bolt for it anyway. There we go. Got it loose. Before we take the starter out, there's a little wire here. It's the signal wire to start your vehicle. It's in a wire harness. You might want to take that off before you get all the bolts off, just because You know, you don't want to risk damaging the other side of the harness. Kind of back there. That's for sure. There it is. Got it. So it's taking the bolt out. Oh. Now we should be able to remove the starter. A lot of stuff looks like could be in the way down here. You know, so you want to be kind of careful. We might end up having to take, you know what, yeah, we're going to take some of these harnesses off first. We're going to take off this knock sensor harness. And I think that's actually going to be it. Yep. Just a knock sensor. Came out of there pretty easy. There we go. We were successful in removing it. Now we'll clean up some things. You know, check out the new parts, compare them, and get everything put back together. Now we said we also had to change the intake manifold gaskets. That's all they are. 8 of them. We also want to clean this up, so we want to go ahead and remove all these, clean it, put our new gaskets in. So this is our new starter here, TYC. Got this on Rock Auto. Amazon also sells it, but it's like 300 bucks. I don't know. With shipping and everything, it was barely over, barely over 100 on Rock Auto. I paid like 140 with shipping, tax, and everything to get this starter and the intake manifold gaskets. So not too bad, but we want to get this new one in there. We got the old one out. Put in right in that hole back there. Okay, so before we actually do start putting this in there, we are going to take this bar off like we did on the old one to get it out, because I know that once I get it in there, or try to get it in there, this is just going to be a pain. So a very simple thing to do to make your life so much easier. For some reason, or was it the same? No. Yeah, okay. This was a 13. Let's save that, because this is from the new one. Put it in our little magnetic dish. This might be a 13 too. It is. So. And we want to save this too, because again, it's our new starter. These are all the new parts we need to get it on. Drop that washer, or I'll either retrieve it, or I'll get it from the old starter. Okay, well, I was able to retrieve the washer that I lost, so let's get this in there. Just get them bolts in there with your fingers, finger tight first. Everyone go in. Alright. Since they're the same bolts that, you know, came out of there, they're the same size. They're going to be 14 millimeter. Do you remember we used a wrench for that? Make sure it's on there nice and tight. Really suck to have to pull all this back apart because you didn't tighten something up enough. That being said, you also don't want to strip anything out. That should be plenty tight. Go ahead and get that black bar back on there. We won't tighten anything up until we get everything in the holes they belong to. Tighten that nut up to 12, or no, to 13, straight. The old one was a 12. A little rubber boot back over it. Tighten up the bolt on the side of the starter for the black bar. I'm going to say it right now, and I'm going to say it again when I do it. Do not forget to plug your knock sensor back in if you unplugged it to remove the starter. Or any injectors or anything at all that's underneath this manifold. Now we got that back on. We can connect the power wire to the black bar from the truck. So leave that one to 12.
rubber boot back on that. We're going to plug the knock sensor in now so that we don't forget. We didn't unplug any injectors or nothing while we were in here. Make sure it's snapped into place. Now we'll take the signal wire and we will plug it back in here. And then take your little plastic thing right there, flips over the back of this piece of metal so that it's organized. It's actually unput that. Go from behind. Wired it within our way. Put that in. Now we'll clip it in. So, as you can see in there, everything's connected like it should be. You can see we got the power wire on in the back. We got the black bar back on right back there behind that piece of metal where that white wire's going. That's our signal wire. We did plug our knock sensor back in. Everything else underneath the manifold's plugged back in. We cleaned out the valley with a vacuum. Next thing to do is to get the gaskets inside of the intake manifold. Here's our intake manifold, all nice and clean. Got all of our gaskets here from Rock Auto. Just want to take them one at a time. Make sure everything's clean. We already cleaned this off camera. Then you just want to take them on. Pop them in. Now we're going to go ahead and get it on there. Well, first we have to take off the tape, which it's a very good thing we put it on here. Make sure you get it all. And I just use the foil tape because that's what I had available. Masking tape probably would have been better. This stuff's a little bit harder to get off. Regardless, make sure you get all of whatever tape you get off of here. You don't want anything creating gaps in your gaskets, cause an intake leak. Make sure we have all that sticky residue off and everything. We'll just quickly spray it with some brake cleaner. Take our rag, clean it all up again. That way we know we're going to have a perfect seal that all goes back together. Everything looks clean, everything looks to be in place, but don't be in too much of a rush. Make sure you take a minute, inspect anything, you know. Looks all good to me though. Let's get this manifold in. Before we go ahead and put our manifold in, we probably have more room now to clean this throttle body than we're going to later. So let's get that done. You just want to hold it open a little bit. Make sure you just spray it out. This isn't a necessity for the job, just how I like doing stuff. Do it right the first time and you won't have to come back. Now I'll get the intake manifold in. Make sure that while you're doing this, none of the gaskets fall out. One just did on me. I'm just putting it back in. I'm gonna make sure it's nice and snug so we can get it in there. Well, for some reason, in the middle of me putting the intake manifold on, it just stopped recording, but pretty self-explanatory. Goes on the same way it comes off. Make sure all your gaskets are in the holes. You can always check the little nipples that poke out on every gasket to make sure they're all lined up. Get the bolts in there and tighten them all up. We're just doing the reverse of everything that we did when we took it apart now. So we're going to finish tightening up all the bolts on the manifold and just getting everything back together at this point. Let's start on the back left. You just want to snug these up. You don't want to go too crazy cranking them down. We're going to alternate sides, moving ourselves towards the front of the truck here. Meaning I did the back left, now I'm doing the back front, and I'll do the second one up on the left and then the second one up on the right. And I meant back left and back right. Now I lost the bolt and went to go to AutoZone 4. So if you notice, I don't tighten up the last one on the left, because when I'm done with this, I'm gonna have to drive the truck to AutoZone without that bolt and buy one.
Got this one down the engine, and I believe it is long arm. Not in the engine. You know that.
Start by getting the throttle body put on at this point. Put our gasket back in there. You want to make sure it's all nice and clean before you put it in there. We used our 5/16 nut driver to take this off. We'll use our 5/16 nut driver to put it back on. Tighten it like an X. Top right, bottom left. And we'll do top left, bottom right. This doesn't have to be crazy tight either.
Start putting some of these vacuum lines back on.
Got our bolts that hold our heater hose rail back on the side of the manifold. Put these on real quick. They're also going to be 10mm.
Goes there. There.
You plug all your throttle body wires back in. Give it all a very good inspection. Make sure all the hoses are back on, everything's plugged back in. Don't leave any articles of clothing in your engine. Looks good. We can go ahead and get the air box put back on. So I just went ahead and cleaned the air filter box and this little rubber bellow real quick. Now we're just going to get it on there. Not too worried about the air filter box side yet. We just want to pop all this in here, line it all up, and And then we'll go ahead and grab the air filter. Which, when I go get that bolt that I lost, I'm probably gonna try to find an air filter, because it looks like I need one. So we'll go ahead and get all the bellows connected. Snap the air filter in. That way you know everything's lined up. And then 5/16 nut driver. Make sure we plug our mass airflow sensor back in, and also put the little clip in that holds the wire. Yeah, now all we got left to do is put in the battery. Alright, so it started a little rough just because of all the brake cleaner and stuff we used to clean it with. But there you go. It's running. That's how you put a starter in a 2017 Nissan Titan. Thank you. Please subscribe.